Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Even with all the festivities, the holiday season could be one of the most stressful times of the year. On the show today, Lucy Forsting, author of Miss Twiggs and Company, visits and shares some great tips that you can use to help keep your holiday season full of love and joy instead of stress and anxiety. Learn how to avoid holiday weight gain and how to avoid conflicts with loved ones and help strengthen relationships. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I'm Bob Gilpatrick, and I'm here today with two people, Lucy Forsting and Raleigh, who you normally see on camera, is here with us today as
Bob.
well.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, Lucy?
I'm doing just great.
Hi, Lucy.
Thank you. Hi.
How you doing?
Great.
Nice to see you again.
Absolutely.
So, Lucy, we're going to talk today because it's around the 1st of November now. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk today about the holidays and give some tips for people that they can use to thrive during the holidays so they don't look back after Christmas time and say, boy, I gained 15 pounds and it was really stressful and I'm really glad it's over with and I need to take January off.
That's, well, one of the big things that a lot of doctors are reporting is it's not the freshman 15 that they used to talk about, it's the COVID 30. And the average person has actually gained 30 pounds. So as we move into the holidays, you don't want to be adding additional pounds to what you've already picked up for the last year and a half,
Right. And
out of stress.
one of the things about the holidays is traditionally you get together and you're eating all these rich and decadent foods to celebrate. And so we were talking about it on another show, sugar addiction, the willpower thing, how you have to restore it. So that's something that psychologically a lot of people probably want to do is figure out how to restore willpower and things like that.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, people knew in the past if they were moving towards the holidays to maybe, put in less sugar, or a sugar substitute instead of traditional sugary recipes that our grandparents were used to making.
Those yams, and marshmallows.
Right, exactly. So you can look at a recipe and lighten it up. That's not that difficult to do. But I think one of the big keys to the holidays is stress. And as stress plays a role in almost everything, including COVID, for, again, this past year and a half, how do you reduce stress as you approach the holidays? Because many people are still working. And then they're trying to cram in the different parties that they're going to, shopping. We're being told right now, in fact, I just dropped off a package at UPS, and we're being told that you need to get your packages in the mail as soon as possible. And this is not even quite November 1st. So we've got a month and maybe a week to guarantee that your package is going to get there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And so the one thing, too, is if there's a lot of stress during normal life, and then you have the holidays where it's even more hustle and bustle and go, it's time to prepare yourself for that, right?
Exactly. So one of the things that I do recommend to a lot of people is just get back out in nature. Start using this attitude of gratitude. Maybe do a little... I don't know whether people are going to be doing biofeedback, but they can do mindfulness exercises, meditation, anything to bring down the stress level, on an internal level, so that you can breathe.
And it has a mindfulness app.
It does.
And every day it reminds me to take a moment to be mindful.
Really?
And so little things like that.
And to drink more water.
And I do get I drink more water on this thing. Every day it says drink more water. Every day they'll tell me. So I've been actually really well hydrated and mindful at the same time.
And it probably tells you to get up and move around.
It actually does. It tells me to get up and start moving. So there's lots of things that you could do, especially with the advent of technology with smartphones and iWatches and stuff.
Exactly, because it's monitoring your body.
Yep.
And it's letting you know, like, okay, you're a little off here, you need to do something here.
Yeah.
So,
pretty cool stuff.
Absolutely.
I was thinking, a lot of people think about the first of the year as a time for resolutions and new starts. It seems like maybe November 1st would be a better time for a new start, right?
You gotta start
a commitment for the next couple of months so that your COVID 30 doesn't become 40.
COVID
Right.
40, right?
And
Well, a lot of the studies show that people who just try to real quickly in January 1st just turn over a new leaf, it doesn't last.
It doesn't.
Because they don't have a cognitive commitment. They're not prepared for it. But hey, you start on November 1st, give yourself a couple months to roll into it,
Right.
Yeah.
ease into it, and it could make it easier, you know?
Well,
Yep.
and if you're faced with, let's just say that the average person has picked up 15 to 30 pounds. If you're approaching 30 pounds and trying to lose it, that is much more difficult than having 10 pounds that you're trying to lose. And so you're going to give up, or that's what a lot of people end up doing. So, they make the commitment to go to the gym, and they sign up for a gym membership. The average gym membership lasts 2 months, and yet you're paying for it for at least that full year if you've budgeted it.
Right.
So I think this is a really good time of the year to take kind of a retrospective look at your life and where do I want to be in 2022?
Right.
And then as you approach the holidays, there's things you can do like this was kind of cool as far as I was concerned because a lot of people are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and so they can actually look at how they eat throughout a day as they're getting ready to go to a party, and maybe have a bunch of little healthy snacks so they're not starved by the time they get there.
Right.
They can also dilute their alcoholic drinks. So I drink wine. I don't drink any hard alcohol. But if I was going to be going to a party rather than just having wine straight, maybe I might put ice cubes in it.
Right.
And dilute it a little bit so that, I'm going to be safer driving home, but there's less calories. And one of the other things that I thought was really cool that I had read was learning to move away from the table. A lot of people hang out by the serving table if it's a party.
Yeah.
And they're having their conversations there. So put something on a little plate
Right.
and walk away and have a conversation away from the table.
I was also, listening to some information from a weight loss and holistic health coach. Her name is Tara Watterson, and she was talking about the importance of self-image. And when you mentioned about people between 15 and 30 pounds and they might give up, what she was saying is if people can make a self-image of themselves, which is how they wish to be,
Right.
and really write down exactly their characteristics, where they want to be at their ideal body weight, a particular energy level, things they're going to be doing, places they're going to go, that all relates to health and enthusiasm and being free to be who they really want to be.
Right.
And she was saying that the people that are most successful at releasing weight are the ones that take the time to create this future self-image and practice it every day. Because as you practice it by saying, I feel this way, I look this way, I am this way, over time it becomes you. It becomes your preferred neural pathways, and that image that you envisioned, you actually become it over time.
I'm not so sure. I mean, this is kind of a far out thought maybe, but I'm not so sure, since we are 50 trillion cells that vibrate. If we are vibrating at a frequency that says, I'm overweight, then the cells hold on to the weight because that's who we think we are. If we are vibrating at a frequency that says, I'm healthy, I'm lean, we have a person here at Boomers that refers to himself as the lean, or I don't know whether he says lean, but mean dancing machine. Yeah.
Gene, the mean dancing machine.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, he is vibrating at that frequency, and so it's energy. So a person that is significantly overweight typically doesn't have a high energy level. So
Right.
they're not burning calories. So, again, stretching maybe the imagination a little bit. If I'm saying that I'm lean, I'm active, I'm energetic, then my cells are going to be burning more calories, I think, than the person who is going, I'm overweight, I'm tired, I don't have any energy.
Well,
then those cells are going to slow down.
That's kind of what I was going to mention. A lot of people, and especially medicine and in America, focus on the physical part of losing weight, which is the not eating as much, the working out, the getting up and moving, which is obviously to lose weight, you have to do that. but nobody thinks about the psychological pathway.
Right.
Except, I mean, there's actually, I've heard a new one called Noom. It's
Yes,
like a weight
yes.
loss thing. One of the biggest things they talk about is how you have to look at it from a psychological perspective.
Right.
And then you can start understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And by understanding why you're doing what you're doing, you can finally figure out how to not do it.
Right.
And so that's the psychological part that most people don't even think about.
Well, the word diet has the word die in it, right?
Correct.
And so that's been out for a long time, just helping people understand that concept. But when you reduce calories to the degree that sometimes it's suggested to do, your body goes into an automatic stopgap kind of a situation where, whoops, I can't burn any calories because I don't have very many coming in.
Right.
And so you don't lose the weight.
Right.
And I know one person who, had been starving herself all week long, really low calories, had not lost a pound, decided to heck with it, I'm going to have a dessert, and lost 4 pounds the next day. So it was almost like her body said, oh, thank you. You fed me something that I like. Maybe not good for me, but I like. Therefore, I will release the weight I was holding on to.
And that's one thing, Bob, you say a lot. Instead of saying the word diet, we refer to it as
Weight release.
right.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
if you release something, it's a lot easier to let it go. But it's
Right.
like if you lose something like your keys,
Right.
you're like, well, I got to find my keys.
Exactly.
So that's what the body's like. Well, we just quickly lost all this weight. We're going to have to get it
We have
back.
to
somehow.
find
We're
it.
going to have to find it again.
But if you can release it,
Yeah.
that's how
I
you
got
let
that.
something go.
I got that from Sue Stebbins,
Yeah.
who wrote the book Mind Your Head. She's a neuroscience researcher.
Researcher? Okay.
Yeah, and that was her contribution
yeah.
to releasing weight.
No, and that's
Lucy,
why-
the other thing that people have trouble with in the holidays is typically this time when we go to visit. And sometimes people will have a person or two in their family that they don't get along with very well.
Almost
and
always.
They're dreading going to the Thanksgiving dinner or the Christmas day.
Sure, it's a political debate, it's a religious debate,
Yeah.
it's something.
Or even
turkey's
siblings.
too dry.
Yeah, or even siblings that haven't gotten along since they were 5 years old. Right?
So they go back into their mode of behavior.
Right.
Right.
And so one of the things I like showing people how to do is a soul scanning technique where people can envision this person that they haven't gotten along with over the holidays and close your eyes and look up into the left a little bit and imagine that person's face and look right into their eyes with your listening self, right? So listening with no judgment. You're just observing with no judgment and just see what that person wants to say to you and hear what they say. And you can have a dialogue back and forth, right? And then close that picture down and look to the other side, to the right, and imagine that person's face again, but this time just their soul essence without any of their mind stuff. And so look into their eyes at this point, all right, with no judgment, just observing and see how the message is different.
Oh, I
right?
bet.
And you now also can send messages to that part of the person, to their soul, with your own voice or a thought or just a feeling of love, and just send this communication across the field, right? Across the quantum field. And then just close that down again and watch and see what happens at the Thanksgiving gathering. Now, I've mentioned this before on other podcasts, and we receive phone calls at Boomers Forever Young saying, hey, that technique
Worked.
really worked because I did it. And when I went to Thanksgiving, my cousin, came up to me, gave me a big hug, and wanted to talk all about how we could start anew and be friends for the future.
You said we've received phone calls.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
talked to people that said, hey, that technique really
works.
Yeah.
Another thing that can work, and I love that one, so I think that's amazing because you've
It's called a soul scan. Is that-
yeah,
Soul scan.
well,
Soul scan.
you've predetermined how the relationship is going to actually go down.
That's that vibrational. thing you're
It's the
talking about,
vibrational,
right?
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
if we don't vibrate that we're healthy,
Yeah.
we're not going to be healthy.
Right, because you're going in with anxiety. You're
Right.
going in with, this idea that, okay, I'm going to get into this conflict again. And I know some people who actually make the decision, I'm not going to bite. You know, no matter what they say to me, I'm just going to welcome whatever they, yep. And that works as well. But I think if they can take the time and they're willing to actually do this imaging, it's beautiful, because that's all, you know, even in the book that I wrote, I end it with the concept of love is all, you know, there is. This is why we're here, is to learn how to love each other. And we forget that along the way.
And what's the name of that book again?
The Adventures of Miss Twiggs and Company.
That's right. Check it out.
So, but I think that the holidays bring with them, you know, this career and I want everything to be perfect, that, you know, makes us stress more. Relationships, like you said, doing the soul scan would make a huge difference. Understanding that we are who we think we are. So, you know, getting healthy physically and emotionally, you know, before the holidays, all go a long, long ways into making the holidays what we want them to be. And then taking time for yourself, you know, go take that bubble bath, go take that walk in the woods if you live in an area where there's woods to go walking in. If you've got a fresh snow, that would be beautiful. Down here, walk on the beach.
You know, one of the things that you were saying about the career and eyes having to be perfect, I think a lot of the things that make the holidays memorable are the imperfect things. You know, like the year the Christmas tree fell over and hit Uncle Stu in the head. That's, everybody remembers that.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's the laugh. You know, hopefully nobody got injured.
Right.
But if that's something, the imperfections, to embrace them and actually make them part of that year's story.
Exactly.
Is something that I think people should be more open to, instead of thinking, oh my God, it's ruined because the Christmas tree fell over, or, you know.
Yeah. Raleigh, before we sign off, what was the name of the podcast we did many months ago with Lucy?
Finding a new perspective.
That's
with
true.
Lucy Forsting. It was finding a new perspective with
Because
Lucy Forsting.
in that podcast, we talked about Lucy's book.
That's true.
And we talked about the lessons from the book.
Yes.
So if people want to go back and find that was probably 30 episodes ago.
Yeah, I think it was one of our first.
Yeah.
It was within the first 10. I want to say it's like number 5 or 6 we did. So
It was back in early February.
Yeah, so go back to the archives and find that podcast and listen. We had a conversation with Lucy back then that goes more in depth into some of these things.
Yes, and there's some really good concepts that, you know, a lot of people, they don't think about it. It's finding a new perspective, the vibrating to be what you want to be, thinking to vibrate. That's what Lucy's all about. We talk a little bit about that in the other podcast, so check it out.
Great.
So as you approach Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve, you know, just go out there and make it a really special time of the year with your family and your friends, but keep in mind your own personal health, emotionally and physically.
Awesome.
Lucy, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
It's really great to see you and
Nice
have
to
you
see you
here
again.
at the Boomers Forever Young studio, where we make Live Forever Young radio.
Yes, you do.
It's awesome. And you always make it extra special when you're here. So thank you again for coming all the way down from home to join us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Raleigh, thank you.
Always, you know, love.
And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to Live Forever Young radio. And we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.